Hey Beth. Okay, so here's some context. 4 years ago, I had just gone through a major dark night of the soul. I had this a very intense spiritual awakening after that. And I felt spiritually guided toward a specific person that I had met years prior. I reached out to meet, and he read the message but did not respond. I took a few months of prayer and meditation, and I felt extremely spiritually even more guided towards him. I wrote him a very intense, powerful message. Like it was something I had never written before. It was straight from my soul. I look back and I'm like, whoa, I can't believe I wrote that. It was just like full on from my soul. And he didn't respond, but I could tell that he read it. In spite of no response, I went on this incredible 4-year journey of self-love and total transformation, and still have not heard a single thing from him. I'm at a place now where I feel totally fine on my own, but still, for whatever reason, not really open to other people. And I feel stupid and silly about this, and it's hard to explain to other people. Sorry. I Okay, sorry about that. Okay. I know I can't force a response, but I just don't know what to do.
First of all, don't doubt your connection with him. You have a very, very specific soul contract with him. And what's coming to me is he's not ready. He's just not there yet, but it doesn't mean that he's not there with you on a soul level. Now, I'm going to say something else. It's a little bit, it sounds like maybe a little, whoa. We're multidimensional beings. You're connected to him, and you're probably connected to him in some other dimension. And you might be doing some work with him in some other dimension. And when we don't get to experience that in this dimension, it feels really stinky. Like, why is this not happening here? Please, you did all the right things. You communicated your truth, right? You said what you felt. And the beauty is that to me shows that you have such an open heart, such a beautiful, juicy heart. So don't close it just because he didn't respond back, right? He's not ready. He may be your twin soul in another dimension and not meant to be here. I heard you say that you dove deep into a big spiritual awakening simply because he was in your life and he represented something for you. And maybe that's it. Maybe that is the gift. Maybe you will never be with him in this lifetime. But when you really feel into like that deep love that you feel for him, and then you go, oh, thank you. That's just a mirror. And you go, that's the love I need to just have and feel and experience for myself. Right? Because that's what all these deeply moving relationships are for us, is they're an opportunity to feel ourselves. Because, as much as I love my dog Lily, like my love for her is, yeah, it's because she's cute and she's furry and she's this and she's that. But that love is coming from me. It's actually not coming from her. Like I'm experiencing my love for her, so it's like getting into that heart space of like, oh, thank you, Mr. So-and-so, dear soul, for allowing me to feel that deep love. Because if he wasn't in your life, you might not have felt these depths of love, right? This depth of vulnerability, this depth of like, the heartbreak, but it's the heartbreak that when it breaks open, more light comes in and we grow even more. So if we went our whole life and we never had any heartbreak, man, that would really stink, because we wouldn't know the difference. We wouldn't know that we would, if we were just in constant bliss, right? Well, that would be enlightenment. That would mean that we love ourselves so much that we can just experience love within us, that we don't need someone else to represent it for us. And so that's the only purpose of heartbreak, is to break it open. Because our biggest fear in life is to have our heart broken. So you just went through your biggest fear. I mean, you just transcended through your biggest fear. Yeah, you're still in it a little bit, and that's totally fine, but just keep letting the heart bleed. But I think something more practical for you is when you get the thought, because oftentimes we get in these circuitous loops of thoughts about something or something, right? And so when you start to notice that thought coming to you, you go, oh, okay, thank you. Like whatever the qualities are about him or whatever the connection is, just start transferring it into, I want to see that in someone else that's available and ready for me. So you can still leverage all this great juicy stuff he's giving you, right? And not focus on the lack of it. Like, oh, it's not there. And you'll bring it in. Like you'll just naturally bring in someone else. And if he's supposed to be right for you in this lifetime, he will come back around, but then you'll have done like a whole nother layer of like heart work so that you can have the real relationship with him that you might not have been able to have if you'd started to be with him right away, because you wouldn't have done the deeper dive. You wouldn't have exposed yourself. Right. So yeah. And then maybe the last thing is sometimes acknowledging that this is like a real connection, but we also create fantasies about people too, just like in general. Like I'm not saying that you're creating a fantasy. I'm saying like we get married. Why do people get married? They date for like years and years and years, and then they get married and then they get divorced, and it's because there's all these expectations that we place, which is a fantasy about like what someone else is going to do to fulfill our happiness. And so I think like when you look at it from that lens, like, well, no, I just need to do what makes me happy for me. And then I'll attract the person that's supposed to be there for me, and just thank him every day for just being the soul that he is in whatever dimension you guys are playing in. And yeah, love him, love him. Don't try to stop that love. Just know that time's not right. Maybe he's not right. Yeah, something bigger. Is that helpful? Okay. Woo, good. Yay. I would love for you to go on to bethbell.me and take the state of the heart assessment. If you haven't already, you'll find out like what state is your heart in? Are you blocked? Are you broken? Are you healing, or are you whole? And even when we're in our whole hearts, we never know what's going to happen in life, and things can break our hearts. And that's where a spiritual toolbox really comes in and is incredibly helpful and handy. And it requires us to do that deep inner work, the work that sometimes gets tough to do when our lives are busy and crazy, but guaranteed if we don't do the pause, life is going to pause for us and push us into those moments where we have to do that work. On bethbell.me, you'll also see the Awakening and Healing Handbook. There's lots of modalities, lots of tips, tools, techniques that can also help you on your spiritual journey and building that spiritual toolbox. If you have any interest in spiritual medicines, there's the psychedelic resource guide that's also very helpful. Even if you have someone else in your family that might be interested and you're like, why are they even considering this? I think that would be a very helpful tool for you. And there's the herpes handbook. And I know everybody's like, but it's also about the viruses of the mind and really moving through some of these heartbreaking situations that happen to us in life. And herpes does not have to be that. It's definitely something that is perceived to be this tragedy and trauma. And I honor that, but it's something that we can all work through because they are viruses of the mind. So I so appreciate you here. If you're listening live, thank you for being with me. If you're listening on replay and you have a question, please don't hesitate to submit either in the comments, or you can go to bethbell.me/question. And I look forward to seeing you again next week at 11 a.m. on Sundays. Until then, wishing you much bliss and love. Namaste.